If I were to ask you, what is the worst possible spell that you could bring into PvP? You'd probably answer something like Lucidity, or Bestial Constitution, for being so impossible to get any value out of. Or you might answer Starlight or Darkness for having literally no positive effect whatsoever. And some of you who are in the know will say Meteorite of Astel. Now for the record, I don't think that's true. I don't think this is the complete bottom of the barrel. Don't get me wrong, it's still an awful spell, but there's a couple places we can use it, and that's what we're going to be investigating today. How can we actually make this spell function? How do we get some value out of it? And we're going to come back and try to answer the question of if this really is the worst spell you could possibly use. The first and most obvious issue that we need to overcome here is the accuracy. Actually landing this spell is a bit of a nightmare in any sort of open space. It's got a very wide spread on it, and despite how it looks, it can't really be used at long range because the spread is just too much. One meteorite will fly to the left, one meteorite will fly to the right, and then you'll get one meteorite that actually has tracking on it, but then you have to reset the free cycle again, so you need to go through 3 meteorites to have one that might land. It's not a good situation to be in. So immediately, we need to find some way to get those other 2 meteorites to actually give us some value. Okay, so let's say that this red dot is us, and these 2 yellow dots are the phantoms. Now we're going to cast Meteorite of Astel, and we're going to get this one tracking meteorite as well as the left and right meteorites. And on a level terrain, those are only going to go a certain distance before they hit the ground, and it's a short distance, so it's not too much to rely on. We need to create some sort of situation where these 2 phantoms are going to be forced by the tracking meteorite to move into the range of the left and right meteorites. How are we going to do that? Well, just bear with me a moment because we need to get 3-dimensional. Your first instinct might be to try and do this in an enclosed corridor or a dead end or something, but the problem with that is because of the long cast time, they have time to either interrupt you or just straight up run past you, run away. They can avoid it, they can get out of the range. But if we bring an elevator into the equation, you can do the long cast time where they can't interrupt you, and then they will be brought into this enclosed space where they can't properly dodge the meteorite. Of course, this brings up its own whole host of problems, such as how do we actually get them to fall for this and go into the elevator? How precisely do we need to position ourselves? What do different types of elevators affect that? But the thing is, this is a lead. This is a start. Doesn't work 100% of the time, but it works a little bit. We've got something going here that we can at least use, instead of trying to cast this in the open and getting our ship mixed. Now let's go back to the drawing board for a little moment, because there's something I've been concealing from you in these diagrams. Meteorite of Astel does not emit from you or your staff. It emits from a portal above your head. So what if we had people going down an elevator with us on the bottom? Then you might say, well then they're just gonna jump down and hit us, but they can't. Because there's a giant portal above our head, spewing these meteorites to protect us. So what's gonna happen is they're gonna be going down, they'll get hit by the meteorites if they're standing near the edge, and there's gonna be a whole lot of spraying of the meteorites going on before we are even hittable, before we have even arrived at the edge of the elevator. Which means we can hopefully get more hits in with the meteorites, which is going to bring us closer to maybe picking up a kill or at least getting some good damage in. The main problem that we have with Meteorite in the previous scenario is we're only hitting once or twice and we're not getting enough damage to really be productive. Meteorite of Astel actually has pretty low damage. I think it's a little shocking, but that's aside from the point. We have another lead to go on now. Yeah, this is absolutely where it's at. This is how you want to use this spell. After testing it, this is just the best possible situation to use Meteorite of Astel. It's honestly kind of fun. You essentially just create an absolute death pit that people need to roll past you to get out, whilst they're being constantly bombarded by all 3 of the meteorites that are hitting in quick succession. Is this great? Not really, because you do need a closed elevator shaft in order to make this work. Like, you need one where it's walls on all sides. If it's just open to the air, they can potentially jump past you or hit you with projectiles, because they can just go over the portal by like jumping from the very top of the shaft. So you need a long shaft that would be fatal to jump down. You need one with closed walls to make it harder for them to maneuver. And you also need to be very good on your prediction, because obviously if you're at the bottom, you can't actually visually check whether or not there are people on the elevator. You have to kind of go by gut feeling. If you get it wrong, it's a big hurdle, because chances are you're going to need to use your flask to cast this, because the FP consumption is incredibly high. I didn't mention that earlier because I'm using the FP flask that gives you unlimited FP. But it is very much a problem. You are not going to get multiple attempts, you have to guess right on the first try. And you do need a little bit of luck and a little bit of good positioning still. It is still very possible for them to get past you and just beat the absolute living shit out of you. You're going to get backstabbed, you're going to get Ash of Ward, it will be painful. But yeah, this is a usable situation. Is it worth doing? Is this making up for its downsides? I don't know if I can answer that. I'm leaning towards no, because you're going to probably need to give up your flask for this unless you're a very high level and you can afford the FP cost, and you're going to be giving up 2 attunement slots, which is massive. Okay, you can put a lot into attunement slots, especially if you're a pure sorcerer, which you're going to need to be to get the requirements to cast the spell in the first place. It's ugly. It's 2 slots for the possibility of finding an elevator in your invasion. Not all areas have elevators in them. You're very often going to invade somewhere where you just cannot cast this. It also doesn't stack up to other kings of the elevator meta like Blood Moon Ritual, or even other options that you have on an intelligence build like Samurai Storm. It's I can't solidly recommend this, but if you are planning to use this funky spell, if you want to get some cool clips with the color purple in them, then use Meteorite of Astel on an elevator at the bottom, and I promise you'll have a bit of fun with it. It's actually been an interesting way to fight. I enjoyed getting clips for this one, which honestly surprised me. I don't know, it was just fun. But other than that, that's all I have to tell you about this spell, and I will catch you whenever the hell I upload next.